Well, rolling along here at the Dell Storage Forum in Boston, I'm joined by Brett Roscoe. Brett is and I know I'm going to screw this up, you're the General Manager of PowerVault and Data Management Solutions.
That's right.
I got it. All right.
Good job.
Very good. Brett, this has got kind of a special opportunity to talk with you because, in the last 6 months, actually not just the last 6 months, the last couple of years, the buzz is always around Dell acquisitions. Mm. And one of the more curious ones was Aperture, which you were involved with. Yeah. And I remember when the announcement was made, the first thought was, it wasn't Commvault, and the second thought was, who's Aperture?
Yeah, I don't know anybody can afford Compaq. No. You've seen their market cap lately. They're doing great. They're a really great company. Aperture was the clear standout, and we started that. We started the kind of that work around looking for an opportunity for us in that space, mm-hmm. and not only in terms of how we could complement our portfolio or integrate the additional capabilities in our portfolio, but also how we could enter into that market and provide a broader solution set for our customers. Aperture was a clear standout, and I kind of, I hear a lot of Apahoo, and so, we understand that comment, and I think, they were there, while they certainly didn't have the biggest name in the industry, they certainly had some of the best technology we've seen in the industry. They have, they kind of use next generation replication snapshot capability. They were a very key fit in terms of how their IP could integrate into ours, and just in terms of the sales motion they did have, they were growing 100% year over year, over 100% year over year when we acquired them. So they were just an up and coming, and we saw them an opportunity to make that acquisition while they were still growing and get kind of on the ground floor of being a big part of the development and the technology they were working on, and make it something that we could make a part of the Dell solution set for our customers.
And it makes a lot of sense, from the outside looking in. Dell doesn't need to go out there and acquire the biggest companies in each of the spaces. You guys have a lot of the internal mechanisms, the channel to go to market. You guys have perfected that. So really, when you make acquisitions, you guys are acquiring technologies. You've got the machine in place to execute on those technologies, but it really is about the technology and not just the market share or the channel. You've got that already.
Well, I think you got to take a balanced approach, right? So if you do nothing but acquire technology, you get into a place where you're having to invest so much in getting that technology turned into a product that it can be a very daunting, overwhelming task. On the other side of it is you don't always want to buy all mature companies where you're paying a premium and then you're having to deal with how to integrate these more mature product lines and deal with broad customer sets in certain situations and how to kind of merge them later. So I think we've taken a balanced approach, right? There's times when it's nice to have a larger acquisition where you got a product that's mature and you can take the Dell team and the Dell sales capability and channel and put that out there and let them go make a broader sales capability or a broader distribution capability around that product. And then there's times when if I'll use an example of our Knieriemen acquisition, right? We knew we wanted to create a broad storage portfolio-wide dedupe and compression capability, right? Mm-hmm. And while Knieriemen had a product in the market, they weren't necessarily mature about their sales and distribution capability in the market. But we recognize our technology as a very good technology fit in terms of how we could integrate it into our product line. Now, Aperture is probably somewhere in between there. They actually had a pretty good sales momentum at the time of acquisition. But at the same time, the technology was at a point where we saw a very key fit into our solutions in our software stack. So,
where do you see the big differentiation for Aperture? Obviously, the backup market is very unique in the sense that it's a hard market to play in. There's very little churn. It's very difficult for a company that already has a backup solution transition. Yeah. Because now you got to run concurrent backups for both systems for a while. So there's got to be a driver that's going to make them want to displace an existing backup solution. For Aperture, what are those drivers?
Yeah, let me talk about a couple things that are going on. Number one, just in general, one of the biggest trends we're seeing, and you see a lot of surveys that kind of reinforce this, one of the biggest IT budget items for storage or just for data centers in general is a redesign or re-architecture their backup processes, right? So it's a place that's a pain point for them today because their existing environment, the backup window issue, the amount of data they're having to back up on a regular basis is becoming unmanageable. The other thing that you're seeing is customers are using more and more replication and snapshot tools, mostly for the purpose of DR, and they're managing these two different infrastructures, and we're getting to a place where those worlds are converging, right? Yep. So that having two different solutions for backup and for disaster recovery is becoming, a lot of overhead and kind of untenable. Why have two when you can have one? And Aperture comes right into the heart of that. Aperture brings the snapshot replication technology and adds the IP around all of that to basically create point-in-time recovery points, or point-in-time 5-minute RPO kind of capabilities, recovery point objectives within those data sets. So I can say, okay, I've got an Exchange database sitting there. I want to do a snapshot of that every 10 minutes, right? And I want to keep 10-minute sets for a week. I want to keep 1-hour sets for a month, and I want to keep daily sets for 6 months, something like that. You can basically graduate them all. And the nice thing is the solutions that customers used to use around replication to have failover, well, any of those points can now be stood up as a virtual application or as an application in a virtual machine anywhere, whether it's a remote site, whether it's a cloud. So now the customer's got basically the ability not just to recover a complete database or a single email or a single mailbox, but he's got the ability to take any of those recovery points, stand up an application anywhere, anytime within a matter of minutes. So he has a failover, a way to keep his application in a high availability situation. Right? And
does deduplication, you mentioned deduplication with Ocarina.
Yes.
Let's talk about Aperture. What role does deduplication play with Aperture?
A big one, right? So the deduplication is part of the core technology with Aperture as well as Ocarina. One of our goals is to work with the Aperture and the Ocarina teams to actually get to a common set of algorithms, right? So that when you dedupe something,
that's obviously a no-brainer.
Yeah,
you got IP there that can be leveraged.
Absolutely, and Aperture uses a fairly open source kind of off-the-shelf kind of compression algorithm. It's not that it's not a good one. It's a very standard in the industry. But Ocarina has a large mix of different algorithms for different data types, right? That's kind of their IP. Is they've got hundreds of different compression and dedupe algorithms. And we're going to work to leverage that and make sure that Aperture and Ocarina can leverage common IP to do compression and deduplication, so that as you're working with either one of these systems or working across our storage portfolio, you don't have to rehydrate data just to have one set of, just have Aperture pull a backup off of an existing primary storage or another backup device and have to rehydrate it just to put it into their format.
That's right. Yeah, that can be a bit of a challenge. So, what's the roadmap look like for Aperture? Obviously, because this opens up a whole window of possibilities when you look at the rest of the Dell IP set. And some of the possibilities. Obviously, you guys have expertise around replication within your storage arrays. So data movement isn't a challenge for you guys, but that's a distinct technology in itself. What is that? How does Aperture evolve? And I'm not asking for specifics, but just kind of high level. Where do you take the next versions of Aperture?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, obviously we have some short-term things we've got to go do, right? So short-term, we're adding. We just announced version 5. We're going to have Linux support around that version here this summer. We have some other localization, language support that we're going after because we're launching the product worldwide. So there are some short-term kind of things we got to go around and go do. Longer term, I think what you're going to see from us is two directions. We're going to continue to evolve the software product so that from a software-only perspective, it's still a leading product, leading capabilities.
It's still going to be available a la carte.
Yes, customers can buy it, as a software-only and deploy it on any server or anybody's storage that they like. We're going to continue to support that model and make sure we provide the right investment to make that the best it can be. The other kind of investment armor to it is going to be how do we integrate it into our product. So your comment earlier about, okay, if I've got replication and snapshot tool sets within EqualLogic, Compaq, and PowerVault today, how can I enrich those, right? Mm-hmm. So today I can replicate a Compaq and EqualLogic, and I can fail over and have all these capabilities to kind of reestablish that data set should something happen to my primary side in terms of disaster recovery, power failure, all those kinds of things. But wouldn't it be nice if the Aperture capabilities, right, which is the ability to recover an entire application, no matter what, how many volumes or how many different data sets are mounted to that application, wouldn't it be nice to be able to recover that entire application, remotely, right, or keep as many repository copies as I'd like and manage that and be able to bring different point in times back native to the array or to the portfolio that I'm using. And so those are kind of the cool things that we're talking about, right? And in doing some of the data movement of, equal logic to non-equal logic, right? Equal logic to the cloud, component to the cloud. Some of those kinds of capabilities are something
you're going to need software that's independent.
Yeah. So you talk about data movement. We have very good data movement today in a like-to-like environment. Aperture is very good at like to unlike, right? Or unlike to unlike, right? They're very good at heterogeneous data movement. So there's a lot of IP that we can go leverage there and a lot of cool things we can put on the roadmap.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Brett, well, thank you very much for taking a few minutes with us today.
Yeah.
And obviously we're going to keep our ears open for new developments with Aperture. And I bet you'll have more for us next year at Dell Storage Forum.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Very good. Thank you.